That's partly true. Then you get a company like Jack's Magic, who has also presented data, which I've seen, which I know is true, is that yes, but it's really more of an issue if there's some nitrogen in the water in a certain ratio. It's called the Redfield ratio. It blooms algae quickly. Okay, so that's the worry, that you're going to have algae that are hard to kill. Fine, so you do your normal algae treatments, and if they don't work, and you do detect phosphate, typically it's got to be at least 1,000 before I've ever seen any significant problems. And unfortunately, the test procedures all measure a shade of blue. I use them all the time, different brands. They're all pretty decent. But once you're over 1,000, it's pretty much guesswork. Okay? And then you can remove them with a phosphate remover. Now, the natural chemistry product, if that's the one that you prefer, functions using lanthanum sulfate. They have a patent on it. You apply it into the skimmer, and it does its job much slower, but a little cleaner, because the chemical runs into the filter and sits there. And then as the phosphate comes through, it picks it up and sits in the filter. The C-Clear material, or our material, works much quicker, more economically, but so quickly that it can fog the water, cloud the water. So if you're concerned about that aspect of it, because the water had been clear, natural chemistry is a better approach. And they have it. We're all using a chemical lanthanum chloride. They're using lanthanum sulfate. So there's a real difference. So my hat's off to them for that. Either procedure is fairly expensive. Does that kind of give you the info? Are you looking for something a little bit more?
I was just trying to figure out the differences between, you know, say their stuff and whatever you might be selling over on
We
the
call
side.
it antifos. That's why C-Clear, I think they also sell it with these little tablets or some type of clarifier, because the way you remove phosphate is to have this chemical called lanthanum react with the phosphate and make a cloudiness. I mean, common sense, the only way to remove something is to flush it out while it's soluble, make it get into a precipitate and get dropped to the bottom or get caught in the filter, or burn it out and somehow convert it to a gas that comes out of the pool. And that's why I might make the comment on shocking. Do not shock under a blanket. The pool's got to breathe. How many times have we seen a shock treatment fail and the pool still? Was the end product of the reaction of shocking with a lot of organics is to have nitrogen and carbon dioxide gas bubbles come out. You can't cover them, it pushes them back down. Shocking under the blanket, most people know is, besides you're going to deteriorate the solar blanket. You'll slow the reaction tremendously. Those are the three ways. So either it comes out as a gas, you flush it out water, or you make it precipitate. In the case of phosphate, it's a precipitate. In the case of nitrate, we're stuck. There's no way to convert it. So it's got to be flushed out. In the case of cyanuric acid, feed stabilizer, technically we can convert it to go into a cloudiness and drop it out, but it's horribly messy. It's similar to trying to remove calcium by making it a cloudy mess and getting rid of it. It just doesn't work. Your labor costs would be phenomenal compared to the treatment. So you flush it out. Now, if I might make one comment about cyanuric, because this is a never-ending battle, we find in the backyard pools that really about 150 is the effective limit of useful pools, meaning they're taken care of, they're chlorine reading, and they're algae-free. I know a lot of commercial, a lot of states have moved down to 100, had been higher, and some states are even 0. We've seen reports from the Center for Disease Control, CDC, especially related to Cryptosporidia, very hard to kill thing. And this has amplified the problem of high cyanuric. So I respect the reports, but it's not really a backyard issue. It's a commercial issue with a lot of kids. And the reports do show that when you're trying to kill crypto, and you need 75 ppm of chlorine, 10 times normal shock, thereabouts, sustained for, I think the CDC says 12 hours. Their reports show that in pools of 50 ppm of cyanuric versus 100, a distinct difference in the quality of the kill. It's worse. and much worse at 200 cyanuric. So we have seen many more states move to a maximum of 100. The testing procedure for that cyanuric is adequate for enforcement. I believe each state has an approved list of test procedures, but they all, for the most part, rely on the turbidity method. Is there anything else besides either a dip strip or the cloudy method out there on cyanuric? I don't think so. So there's some play, you know, who's reading it, how cloudy is cloudy. I have a report in the Alden Leeds website. I have a series of tech documents. I have one about cyanuric testing. Warmer water, the readings are always higher. Colder water, the readings are lower. Whether you have it sit for 30 seconds or 3 minutes, the longer you let it sit, the more it tends to age. Readings 70, 80, 90, 100 or beyond are very hard to distinguish. If you want to be zone in on it, take your water sample. If you think it's 100 plus in cyanuric, cut it 50-50 with clean tap water, drinking water. Redo the test, forcibly put the test so it reads 50, a more reliable measurement, and then double it to get your true reading. Anytime I see one 150, 200, I'm immediately starting the test over again, because past 100 you don't know what it is anyway on any of these test procedures. I'm starting over and I'm taking 3 parts of drinking water and 1 part of pool water, putting them together, starting the test over, and then whatever my reading is I multiply by 4. And you're going to get more authentic info that way. We have some mysteries where cyanuric seems to go down for no reason. Perhaps it makes some complexes, but the only technical way I know that cyanuric getting lower is by losing water. And evaporation, don't forget, nothing comes out except pure water when water evaporates. All the minerals, all the calcium, all the cyanuric, everything stays in the pool. Think like Dead Sea. Things concentrate. So don't let anyone ever tell you that, oh, I'm losing water to evaporation. That's not doing anything. Only pure water evaporates. Okay, I think that's good enough for today. If you can have any other, I try to be interactive, and I get on a roll, and if I cover enough ground quickly, it usually works. Now, you're welcome to pick up my card. I have a direct line and an email address there. And please look at our website. And in the tech menu, you'll see all sorts of unrestricted stuff. Even the public can go there. But fortunately, I don't get many smart calls from homeowners saying, you know, I read this article and it differs from what I read from some other website. I said, oh, well, that's the internet for you.
The Protein Supreme product that Biolabs had under Synergy,
Yeah.
I can't remember what that was used for. It was used for suppressing something.
Yeah, sodium tetraborate is an algae inhibitor. We call it borate extreme. There are various names for it. And it's EPA approved. At 50 ppm, it inhibits algae. And it's a good product. It's widely used in the South instead of phos removal, especially with pools that keep the water in it for a long period of time or they're open long. It turns out to be a little more economical than having to put a bottle after bottle of phosphate remover when you find that the algae are reoccurring.
Well, if I remember right, we were selling it for winterizing more than anything.
I love it for that because it keeps the algae matting down. You can apply it any time of year, but over the winter it adds that extra benefit of keeping the algae suppressed, especially in a mesh-covered, in-ground DE system. It's a beautiful thing. And I wish more people would use it, but they don't want to spend the $200. To use it in a small amount as a winterizer, it still has to come up to that 50 level. But I love it to apply that time of year, especially people who have a lousy long spring cleanup every season. There's some people who get that. Because that nitrate particularly never goes away. You can control and see it stays in the pool until you flush it out. doesn't bother anything. But
Well-
then in the winter, the cycle will come in, but the algae will be prevented by the borate.
Does the borate take care of the nitrogen,
No,
nitrates
it
too?
just stops the algae from
Oh,
breathing.
From the, yeah, I see what you mean.
It helps prevent the algae from grabbing onto more of the good stuff that it wants to grow. So a lot of people say, hey, if we winterize your pool with this, even though we know it normally looks lousy in the spring, it cuts down 90% of the algae mat, makes the cleanup a lot quicker. I think it's a winner, but just for, a lot of the safety covers are much better quality now, so they're cutting out the lights so much, so they've improved in cutting out the old ones, the loop locks, they're still vulnerable, same deal. You gotta open them up now if you can. Get some more chemical in there now if someone wants to reclose them and open in May, late May. That's a very long cleanup in a DE pool, DE filtered pool. I've seen it go on for weeks. It's almost like you'd want to consider some of those, flocking them, raising the pH and adding a chemical to knock everything down to make it easier to vacuum. But that's a good process. That's 2 visits. A flock procedure, you gotta go prep the pool, raise the pH, get the flock in there, shut the thing down, then you gotta come back. Vacuum up, so that's 2 visits right there.
The other question I had is, the PPG tablets has a scale inhibitor in it. And what chemical is the scale inhibitor?
Yeah, I don't know, that's their thing,
I heard it was a
multi-billion-dollar company, I
sulfate.
can't tell what's in there.
I heard it was some kind of sulfate or something.
Oh, could be. It would have to be something inorganic, because they couldn't possibly put an organic chemical into that with those chlorine tablets.